Hello again, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about Sakra, which is a Donnie Yen film that he made over the last few years, and it's been released in 2023. This is a throwback film. It's a certain type of film, and if you like that kind of film, you're going to enjoy this. And if you are not so keen on a certain kind of film, you're not going to enjoy it as much. It's that simple. It's an old-fashioned film based on like old tales, from the past, and of like Chinese gods and things like that. And it's it's that thing is you either go with or you don't. It's a if you're like me who enjoy watching some of those old Shaw Brothers films, where you've got a hero on a quest, and you might know where most of the film is going. You might know where a lot of the details are going to go with it. It's fine. It's really enjoyable. But if you want a more modern, a more cynical thing, you're probably not going to enjoy this as much. It just doesn't really have the modern take you'd probably want. It's not cynical. It wears its heart on its sleeve. It's a very traditional film. It's obviously a film that Donnie Yen was passionate about. And I thought it was delightful. I really enjoyed it. For its cliches and for its acceptance of those cliches. And its embracement of the kind of old school narrative it's telling. It's based on a book. It's taking a part of a book. One character from a book, and the other characters are left out. And it's about this guy who is a leader of this gang of all these people who are fighting for one part of the region, but they're being quietly invaded by another set of villains. And there's a lot of distrust, a lot of sowing of distrust from different people, lots of lies going about. And essentially, Donnie Yen is accused of being a bastard, actually being part of the opposition by birth. Also, the suggestion that he murdered a friend who's going to expose him. And this is after you've seen Donnie Yen actually fight for the rights of some poor guy who has been enslaved. So you know he's a good guy, but you also know that his own people are now very paranoid about him. So he leaves. He does a decent thing and he leaves. He thinks, okay, I can't really win this. But then he goes to see his parents, and his parents are dead. Or adopted parents, because he was found as a baby, obviously. It's an old-fashioned thing. He's found as a baby. And this couple looked after him. Then he goes to see his master, and his master dies in his arms as well. And he's thought of as being the killer. During the same time, he notices somebody trying to steal something. He stops her. She gets injured. And then he feels responsible, so takes care of her. And basically, the story from then on is about their relationship and where it leads from this. So he spends a lot of time feeling like he needs to help her get better. He just feels an urge to be his best self. His big thing in life is actually to rise above petty selfishness and be his best self. Well, the people around him are falling into temptation a lot of the time and are getting manipulated. And now, I should say here that some of these characters have powers. This is pretty much what you'd want in the last Airbender movie to have been for use of powers. Like Donnie Yen can use air, and the other guy can use fire. And it's like, because the last Airbender took so much from Chinese myth, you're seeing it done properly in this thing, and it works really well. And it's like, this is how they should have done it. They should have had Donnie Yen for Last Airbender, and it would have been a lot better. Basically, it's about him trying to do his best, rise above his own passions, and showing you how hard it is, because he has to go back to where he whereas people are to try and get this girl help because she's mortally wounded, and the only way to do it is actually to fight to the death all of his old friends. And the highlight of the film is this one sequence where he's fighting them all. It's the epitome of one versus many, but it's really inventive because Donnie Yen at this point has done so many films and he knows how to pace this stuff. He knows how to keep it from getting boring. He knows how to what moves look good. And this is just a delight to watch. This is just a wonderful sequence. And it just works because it's just the craftsmanship. I mean, all the fights in this film work. They're all done really well. They all deliver. But this one especially delivers. I mean, there's a fight early on where it's Donnie Yen versus a guy who can use fire. It's really good. But it's an introductory fight to show off the powers and show off the world. So they have to hold back a little bit. But in this fight, they don't hold back at all. It's just like it goes full on. One guy with powers versus a bunch of other people, like a small army of other people with skills but no powers. And it really delivers. The film then continues and gets more complicated as Yen starts to realise there's more to the story. There's more that he was set up and there have been plottings against him. And how does he deal with realising that the accusations against him are true, that he does come from his enemy, but he was born from the enemy, but he's actually on the side of the people who brought him up. And he slowly has to learn to actually get to ignore his background and see both sides as potential problems. Like he's not loyal to either side. So he has to learn to be that. He also has to try and figure out what the conspiracy is, and slowly he does figure out like the people who killed this guy set him up. And it's this woman who was a wife who was out for revenge on her husband, just set Donnie Yen up. And then there's other things we find out as the film goes on about how the other people died. But it's really about him learning to actually find balance within himself and to learn from the mistakes and finally face off against the guy who's manipulating the whole thing in a really terrific final scene. Unfortunately, because it came after the amazing middle sequence, it's not quite as good as that. Because nothing could be. It's like this. They really overdid the middle section. They did it so well that the final fight with the villain, well, very good, kind of pales a little bit in comparison. But this film has a lot of wonderful things in it. It's just a sense of atmosphere of the old tales, really, and it's this feels like a fairy tale world. It's an idealized version of this, but there's magic in us, but it's magic done at a grounded level, and there's all these passions that you start off being much more very black and white, and then as you go through you realise there's lots more nuances, but it's done in a very old-fashioned way. It does hark back to the Shaw Brothers films, the traditional films that they took from as well, traditional narrative, Chinese narrative. But it works, it's delightful. It's just really delightful. I just really enjoyed it. There's nothing here that's going to make you go, wow, I've never seen that before. That's not what it's about. It's about the enjoyment of an old tale told. That's it. There are some things that I could criticise. Donnie Yen plays a guy who's in his 30s, and Donnie Yen is not in his 30s, and with all the makeup in the world cannot convince you he's in his 30s. You have to get beyond that pretty quick. You have to ignore it and say, okay, should have casted someone different. But I'm not sure if other people could have casted could have done some of those action scenes. But, it's like he probably been in the film is what got the film made. But it's like there is a thing where a plot point relies on him being in his 30s, and it's like he's not in his 30s. No matter how much makeup they put on him, he's not in his 30s. There's also a sense the film has been cut down a little bit. That maybe 10 more minutes would have helped. There's certain plot points that come very suddenly, and you're feeling there's probably a scene in between that was needed or was short, and they pulled it out for pacing that would have made sense. Like there's a scene where something gets burnt down, and I get a bit confused where it was for a second because it was like, what? I'm not meant to be confused here. Was I not paying attention? Like, I thought I was. There's things like that you get the context eventually what they are, but sometimes there's a few things they could have done. It's because it sets them up, then jumps a little bit into the next part of the story, and they moving from one part of the story to the other sometimes can be done a bit more nuance. But I do get a feeling some of this is due, like maybe it was a 2 or 15 minutes film, and it was cut down by 5 minutes, and those little bits get lost that would have just made sense of things a lot easier. That's what it feels like, really, more than anything else. Because the rest of the film is done very traditionally, where everything's introduced to you carefully. So the feeling is maybe they cut it a bit too tight, and it affected certain beats. But there you go. That's not bad. But it is a traditional film. You are not going to see anything you've never seen before. It is trying to hark back to films that probably Donnie Yen watched as a kid. It's basically a tribute to the films that made him want to do this. That's what the film feels like, and values that he grew up with, and that's what it feels like. It feels a love letter to the things he loved when he was younger, and that's what just comes through from the film. It's very enjoyable. I really had a good time with it. It's not going to change your world in any way. It sets up so there could be a sequel, and I'd happily watch the sequel as well, because it's set up in a way that's, well, this could be interesting. So I hope you enjoyed the film. I hope you go watch Sakra. It is worth it. You can probably get it on streaming quite easily now for not much money, and it's definitely worth a shot. It really is a lot of fun. So hope you enjoyed this video. That's me for now. Right, bye.